the Union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, to ordain and establish this Constitution.
Restore Health and Counseling salutes the men and women in uniform who've answered the call for our freedoms. Let's give them the hero's welcome they deserve, as they have fought hard to restore peace. America's troops are our angels of protection, so stand up and salute them proudly. That's from Restore Health and Counseling at 4705 Paris Street, serving Northeast Denver with complete substance abuse counseling for adolescent to adult and for private as well as professional drug, alcohol screening and treatment and rehabilitation. Visit us at www.rhctherapy.com or call 303-373-1188. Whether you're in automotive, sporting goods, hardware, health, wellness, electrical, electronics, construction, carpet cleaning, legal, or animal care, and offer exceptional customer service and provide quality services or goods, you're honest, reliable, and professional. If you have a business, we have the customers. Let us put you in touch with our loyal, supportive, and dedicated listeners today. They're waiting to hear from you. It's inexpensive. It's effective. Call KHNC at 1-800-205-6245.
Survey shows that 2/3 of Muslims expect to rule the world in their own lifetimes. Robert Spencer discusses the necessity of anti-Sharia laws. Facebook has a new camera that can recognize you every time you walk into a store. Are the government and the big banks quietly preparing for an imminent financial collapse? And DJ Dolce holds court on the prospect of selling Mars to China. My name's Howard Riell, and this is Real Truth. You're listening to the American Freedom Network, streaming live around the world at AmericanNewsNet.com, and on Facebook and YouTube and Real TV, and in the book Real Truth, Stay Angry. And, of course, as always, broadcasting out across the Colorado Front Range on KHNC, Johnstown, Colorado, 1360 AM The Lion. Our call-in number, 877-254-7524. My friends, our 4th anniversary show looms. It is a week from this Thursday, August 23rd. My special guest will be Michael Snyder, the attorney who writes both the Economic Collapse blog and the End of the Dream blog. It should be a hell of an episode. Let's go forward. Item from WorldNet Daily. 2/3 of 1 billion Muslims expect the Mahdi, the last Islamic imam they believe will come and rule the world, to arrive in their lifetimes, according to a new Pew Research poll. The research affirms the warnings from author Joel Richardson, whose just released book, Mideast Beast, is moving up Amazon listings. It's a sequel to the New York Times bestselling 2009, The Islamic Antichrist, and it recently surged past Joel Rosenberg's Implosion. Can America recover from its economic and spiritual challenges in time? In a column written in WorldNet Daily, Richardson notes that he has been criticized repeatedly for believing many Muslims have a faith in the coming Mahdi, especially that there are a significant number who believe that will happen soon. The survey by Pew Research notes that in the Middle East, North Africa, South Asia, and Southeast Asia, quote, half or more Muslims believe they will live to see the return of the Mahdi. This expectation is most widespread in Afghanistan, 83%, Iraq, 72%, Tunisia, 67%, and Malaysia, 62%, unquote. So what? You're wondering. Who cares if Muslims think some jihad warrior is going to come floating out of the sky and conquer the earth, right? You need to care. And I need to care. You ever been in a bar, your closing time? I have. Guys, last call for alcohol. We're closing in 10 minutes. Boom! People run to the bar. So if the Muslims believe that their Mahdi is about to come and lead a jihad surge against the West, then you better believe they are bellying up to the bar as we speak. Anticipation is building. Anxiety is building. Doubt is building. Have we done enough in the name of Allah to make the Mahdi proud of us? Or do we need to push this war forward with more extensive weapons, deadlier, more heinous weapons? And so if these people, and there are hundreds of millions of them, hundreds of millions, believe that their warrior prince is going to arrive very shortly and help them conquer the world, you better believe they are more dangerous than ever. Related item, Robert Spencer, former guest here on Real Truth, writing at the American Thinker. He wrote a long piece. You'll find it linked on my Facebook page. Here's a little sample. I quote, Louisiana, Arizona, and Tennessee have already passed legislation restricting the use of foreign law in state courtrooms, and 21 other states are considering similar laws. These statutes are designed to halt the use of Islamic law, Sharia, by American judges, a measure that many see as necessary since Sharia has already been involved in cases in 23 states. Many see this as an alarming encroachment upon First Amendment protection of religion. However, anti-Sharia laws do not actually infringe upon religious freedom at all, and they become more urgently needed by the day, unquote. Once again, as I have found over the past number of years, Robert Spencer is exactly correct. At one point in American history, it would have been absolutely nutso to think that we were going to add to our legal system something from the Middle Ages, something from the Dark Ages. A legal system that calls for people to have their heads cut off, their eyes put out, their arms chopped off. We would have laughed at someone like that. The innocence of youth. Here we are in the 21st century. America has reached a point where too many of us are just going bonkers. We don't know what to do next. There's nothing good on TV, nothing good on the little electronic device in our hands. We've seen all the movies. What can we do? I got it. Let's screw with the law. Let's take the best legal system in the world and make it worse. If you're a liberal, your ears are probably ringing as I say these words. The real enemy, the enemy that can hurt us, the enemy that can damage us, not the Muslims, it's the liberals who push open the door so that Sharia can come in. When anyone with half a lick of sense knows that we should never, ever include Sharia in any of our deliberations. Item from WorldNet Daily. CNN anchor Soledad O'Brien is making headlines today after being snagged on the air reading from a leftist blog during an interview. While filling in for regular host Anderson Cooper Monday night, O'Brien was talking with Virginia House of Delegates Republican member Barbara Comstock, who's a senior advisor for the Mitt Romney campaign. O'Brien was seen reading from a printout by the left-leaning Talking Points memo. Specifically, the piece used for her notes was titled The Myth of Paul Ryan, the Bipartisan Leader, posted Monday at 6:08 p.m., just a few hours before O'Brien's interview. CNN, if you want to know why nobody's watching, said radio host Rush Limbaugh, you want to make the claim that you guys are objectively in the middle? Limbaugh continued, Soledad O'Brien is doing McCarthyism. Charlie McCarthyism. She's a puppet. Somebody's mouthing for her. She doesn't know what to ask unless she goes to a liberal blog for guidance, has to print it out and use it on the air, and she's one of the stars, unquote. My friends, TV news ain't what it used to be. Soledad O'Brien, I don't know how much this chick makes. I'm sure it's over $1 million a year, and she doesn't have idea number one about what being a journalist is, about objectivity, about facts. Makes you wonder exactly what Soledad O'Brien did to get that job. She's an attractive woman. Enough said. We'll be back.
And of his fullness we have all received, and grace for grace. For the law was given through Moses, but grace and truth came through Yeshua HaMashiach, Jesus the Christ. No one has seen God at any time. The only begotten Son who is in the bosom of the Father, He has declared Him. The Gospel of John, chapter 1, verse 16.
No state shall enter into any treaty, alliance, or confederation grant letters of marque or reprisal, coin money, emit bills of credit, make anything but gold and silver coin a tender in payment of debts, pass any bill of attainder, ex post facto law, or law impairing the obligation of contracts, or grant any title of nobility. Article 1, Section 10.
CINN Stations in Alt salutes our troops. Whether you're for the war or against it, they're still there. These men and women deserve more than our support. They deserve the comfort of home. Send a military care package today. Just type military care package into a search engine. Point and click. Let's show our troops we care. This message from CINN Stations in Alt, wishing Godspeed to our fighting men and women and thanking them for their triumphs and their sacrifices. The Beth Messiah Congregation invites you to come and experience a Messianic Roots biblically based congregational fellowship as we observe God's Shabbat in Messiah Yeshua. Praise and worship services begin at 10:30 a.m., followed by an Oneg Shabbat meal mid-Rosh and fellowship. Beth Messiah Congregation is located at 8333 Acoma Way in North Denver. You can find out more information by calling 1-800-205-6245. Everyone's welcome, so join us this Shabbat. And Shabbat Shalom, good Sabbath.
Friends, welcome back to Real Truth. Howard Riell here, your humble host. Now that we've landed on Mars more than once, why don't we sell it? Why don't we sell it to China? Well, that's a question raised by DJ Dolce from Illuminati Pictures. You can find her video on WorldNet Daily. She's never boring. Let's listen.
You're watching News. News so good, you have to say it twice. A Pennsylvania man accidentally butt-dialed 911 in the middle of, get this, a drug deal. The police, who were able to listen in on the whole thing, had no problem apprehending the 24-year-old culprit. Speaking of epic fails, Seth Horvitz thought he was ordering just a normal TV on Amazon, but when the package arrived, he found that inside the box was a 6-hour military-style assault rifle. Wait, why did we call this a fail? This actually sounds like my dream. I mean, who wants a boob tube when you could have a boom tube? Okay, one of our writers is on vacation, and I came up with that myself. Apparently, America has claimed a planet, Mars. Here's an idea. Why don't we sell Mars to China for, I don't know, $16 trillion? To sweeten the pot, we'll even throw in America's first communist president. The communists, they love that. Speaking of the Olympics, all these other nations call Americans fat and stupid. Huh? If by fat and stupid you mean we beat the crap out of you at the Olympics and landed on Mars, then I guess you're right. Boom. And finally, Mitt Romney has announced Paul Ryan as his running mate for this year's election. So brace yourself for a whole new slew of hey girl memes. I like this one. This one's pretty good too. Well, that's all the time we have for this week's News. Next week we may be landing on Uranus. We don't know, but hopefully we'll see you then.
Thank you, Ms. Dolce. Let's move on. Item from theexaminer.com. Video recently shown on Egyptian television reportedly depicting the literal carving off of the head of a bound Tunisian man who had abandoned Islam and converted to Christianity. A heavily edited version of the video without actual bloodshed was also aired on Canadian TV's political discussion program, The Arena, hosted by Michael Coren of Canada's Sun News Network. Coren begins his segment by matter-of-factly stating, quote, "There's a video on the web right now showing a man having his head cut off slowly and agonizingly, essentially because he's converted to Christianity from Islam," unquote. While rolling the video, Coren went on to say, quote, various Islamic chants going on right now, and this goes on for some time before this poor man's head is actually cut off. They taunt him for the longest time. He's completely unable to move or resist, and finally his head is cut off and held up for the camera, unquote. As the executioner begins slicing at the side of the man's neck, those observing the slaying off camera shout, Allahu Akbar, God is great. After a full 2 minutes of hacking and carving, the beheading is finally completed, to the cheers and cries of Islamic victory from the assembled crowd, unquote. All people are created equal, right? Yeah, I believe that. But where do they go from there? What kind of a society do people live in? Because people learn from the society in which they live. Do they live in a society that values human life? Do they live in a society that values justice, compassion? Or do they live in a society that values killing, torturing, mutilating? Hey, here's a question. How close do you live to your nearest mosque? It's not an idle question. People are not all the same. We may start out all the same. We don't end up all the same. If your neighbor is a good, decent person who wouldn't dream of harming a fly, well, count yourself as lucky. If your neighbor reads the Quran, well. Item from the Daily Mail. Shoppers could soon be automatically recognized when they walk into a shop using a controversial new camera called Face Deals. The camera uses photos uploaded to Facebook to recognize people as they walk in. Shoppers who agree to use the system, which has not been developed with Facebook, will be offered special deals. Face Deals, a new camera that can recognize shoppers from their Facebook pages as they enter a shop and then offer them discounts. A promotional video created to promote the concept shows drinkers entering a bar and then being offered cheap drinks as they are recognized. Facebook check-ins are a powerful mechanism for businesses to deliver discounts to loyal customers, yet few businesses and fewer customers have realized it, said Nashville-based ad agency Red Pepper. They are already trialing or testing the scheme in firms close to their office. A search for business with active deals in our area turned up a measly 6 offers. Unquote. My friends, do you think you need to be recognized as soon as you walk into a store? Do you think it's a good thing or a bad thing if your face is part of someone's database? Me? I'm an old-fashioned guy. I don't want any computer having my face in it. Most computers, if they had any good judgment, wouldn't want my face in it. It's not good. It's driving in the opposite direction from where we need to go, which is restoring privacy and human dignity in this country. Item from Palestinian Media Watch by Itamar Marcus. Palestinian Authority TV dedicated a program to terrorist Nasser Awais, who is serving 14 life sentences for murder in multiple terror attacks. These include an attack on guests at a bat mitzvah celebration and the killing of a baby. Throughout the program, the PA-TV moderator refers to Awais as the heroic fighter or the heroic prisoner. The PA-TV broadcast featured a short music video in his honor. The following words appeared next to the terrorist picture. Quote, heroic prisoner Nasser, arrested on April 13, 2002, sentenced to 14 life sentences, 50 years and 6 months. Through your patience and resilience, you achieved the most outstanding heroism. Heroic prisoner Nasser Awais from the Balata refugee camp Nablus, you are towering like the steady mountains. Unquote. Here's what we do, my friends. 1, 2, 3. First, we tell the Palestinians that by the time we get to 3, they'd better be gone. Then we count. 1, 2, 3. When we're finished counting, most Palestinians will be on their way out of Israel. Because they know they have a survival instinct. Those who won't, apparently don't have a survival instinct. If these are people who can celebrate as a hero someone who attacks innocent people at a bat mitzvah celebration and kills a baby, then what are the prospects for peace? Well, there are no prospects for peace. What are the prospects for murder and terrorism? Well, those are pretty damn good. I don't know about you. I don't want to give anyone half a chance to murder innocent people. Why would anybody? Item from heritage.org. How high is the marginal tax rate on each additional dollar of the average that the average American earns? In other words, if you got a raise of $1, how much of that dollar would be taxed away? These rates are already high, and they're getting higher next year. A middle-class taxpayer's income is subject to a 25% federal income tax. Then there's federal Social Security and Medicare payroll tax of 13.3% in 2012. 5.65% of that is removed from the employee's paycheck, and the remaining 7.65% is paid by the employer. Okay, if you're self-employed like me, you pay both ends of that. Now, the 25% federal income tax plus 13.3% Social Security and Medicare payroll taxes equals 38.3% going to federal taxes in 2012. Then there are state taxes. According to the Tax Foundation, the average state's income tax rate for the middle-class taxpayer is 4.82%, which brings the total to 43.12% in federal and state taxes. And it's going higher thanks to the nearly $500 billion in tax increases for 2013 that some have called Tax-mageddon. In January of next year, that's this coming January, the federal income tax rate for middle-class taxpayers is scheduled to rise from 25% to 23%, and the payroll tax is scheduled to rise from 13.3% to 15.3%. This drives the marginal tax rate based on the aforementioned three taxes to 48.12%. Add in state and local property, corporate, excise, and other state and local taxes, and the percentage of each additional dollar that is taxed hovers around 50%. When half of each additional dollar earned is taxed away, taxpayers experience a disincentive to start businesses or expand existing ones. This leads to fewer jobs being created. It is outrageous that any dollar earned by a middle-class taxpayer would go as much to taxes as to supporting the taxpayer's family. The government didn't earn the taxpayer's check and shouldn't be entitled to it. Now, my friends, if you this website, heritage.org, you will see charts, tables, a whole bunch of pictorial elements here. We are now giving half of all the money we earn to government, state, local, federal. As of 2013, half. Half of the money we earn we're giving to governments. Is that okay with you? Not okay with me. Why would it be okay with you? Item from the End of the American Dream blog. The future of war is going to look really, really weird. The super soldier research that DARPA is working on right now is unlike anything we've ever seen before. By the way, that's the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency. If DARPA is successful, and if the American people don't object, the soldiers of the future will be genetically modified transhumans capable of superhuman feats. Do you want a soldier that can run faster than Usain Bolt? DARPA is working on that. Do you want a soldier that won't need food or sleep for days? DARPA is working on that. Do you want a soldier who can regrow lost limbs? DARPA is working on that. Do you want a soldier who can outlift Olympic weightlifters and that can communicate telepathically? DARPA is working on that. Americans flock to movies about superheroes and mutants, and soon they may actually have real-life superheroes and mutants fighting their wars for them. But at what cost? A recent Daily Mail article detailed many of the strange research projects that DARPA is working on right now. The fact that DARPA has actually allowed these projects to be revealed in the mainstream media probably means that the development stage is nearly over, and they're ready to try to convince a wary public to accept them. Tomorrow's soldiers could be able to run at Olympic speeds and able to go for days without food or sleep if new research into gene manipulation is successful. According to the U.S. Army's plans for the future, their soldiers will be able to carry huge weights, live off their fat stores for extended periods, and even regrow limbs blown apart by bombs. The plans were revealed by novelist Simon Conway, who was granted behind-the-scenes access to the Pentagon's High-Tech Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency. So how is this possible? How would you genetically modify a human to be able to have these abilities? A different Daily Mail article recently explained how this basically works. My friends, I won't bore you with it. Let's go forward to the end of the piece. Without a doubt, we're going to see a whole lot of humans attempting to merge with technology and reprogram themselves through genetic modification in future years. The wars of the future will look nothing like the wars of the past. The genetically modified soldiers of the future will be supported by robots on the ground and by swarms of drones in the sky. In fact, the swarms of drones are already here. Our lives are becoming completely dominated by technology, and that's a very dangerous thing. We like to think that all these new technologies will always be used for good and will never fall into the hands of tyrannical madmen. But history tells us that liberty and freedom are very rare phenomena. My friends, what happens when these super soldiers leave the battlefield and come home? A scary prospect. We'll be back with more scary prospects.
Just a good old boy.
Hi, I'm Eric Cedarstrom. For over a decade, I've been the CEO, shipping clerk, and janitor of the Patriot Trading Group. And in that time, I've made friends with tens of thousands of like-minded individuals all over this country, most like me, trying to raise a family, run a business, and make sense out of a world gone mad. I'm proud of the fact that through stock bubbles, housing bubbles, and financial chaos, our customers are prospering and doing very well. By keeping our prices fair and our service fast, we find that 80% of our customers not only reorder, but they tell their friends. Don't be fooled by hype and high pressure. Do business with a company you can trust. Call the Patriot Trading Group at 1-800-951-0592 or check out our website at allamericangold.com. You'll be treated with honesty and respect. You have my word on it. I'm Eric Cedarstrom, CEO, shipping clerk, and janitor.
Making their way the only way they know how.
He was in the world, and the world was made through him, and the world did not know him. He came to his own, and his own did not receive him. But as many as received him, to them he gave the right to become children of God, to those who believe in his name, who were born not of blood, nor of the will of the flesh, nor of the will of man, but of God. The Gospel of John, chapter 1, verse 10 through 13. Article 4. The right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrant shall be issued but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the places to be searched and the persons or things to be seized. Restore Health and Counseling salutes the men and women in uniform who've answered the call for our freedoms. Let's give them the hero's welcome they deserve as they have fought hard to restore peace. America's troops are our angels of protection, so stand up and salute them proudly. That's from Restore Health and Counseling at 4705 Paris Street, serving Northeast Denver with complete substance abuse counseling for adolescent to adult and for private as well as professional drug, alcohol screening and treatment and rehabilitation. Visit us at www.rhctherapy.com or call 303-373-1188. CINN Stations in Alt salutes our troops. Whether you're for the war or against it, they're still there. These men and women deserve more than our support. They deserve the comfort of home. Send a military care package today. Just type military care package into a search engine. Point and click. Let's show our troops we care. This message from CINN Stations in Alt, wishing Godspeed to our fighting men and women and thanking them for their triumphs and their sacrifices.
Folks, welcome back to Real Truth. Howard Riell. The difference between conservatives and liberals, in great measure, is the difference between grown-ups and children. Children want what they want, even if it's bad for them, even if it's bad for other people, because they just plain want what they want. That's a liberal. Conservatives are like grown-ups because they think about the ramifications of everything. Adults versus children. Paul Ryan versus Barack Obama. This is a joint session of Congress held back on September 9th, 2009. Paul Ryan is about to teach Barack Obama, as if he were a grown-up, about economics, about hiding spending doesn't reduce spending. You'll find this on my Facebook page. You'll find it on YouTube. Let's listen to Paul Ryan give a lesson in economics to Barack Obama.
Behalf of us. Look, we agree on the problem here, and the problem is health inflation is driving us off of a fiscal cliff. Mr. President, you said healthcare reform is budget reform. You're right. We agree with that. Medicare right now has a $38 trillion unfunded liability. That's $38 trillion in empty promises to my parents' generation, our kids' generation. Medicaid's growing at 21% this year. It's suffocating states' budgets. It's adding trillions in obligations that we have no means to pay for it. Now, you're right to frame the debate on cost and health inflation. And in September, when you spoke to us in the well of the House, you basically said, and I totally agree with this, I will not sign a plan that adds one dime to our deficits, either now or in the future. Since the Congressional Budget Office can't score your bill because it doesn't have sufficient detail, but it tracks very similar to the Senate bill, I want to unpack the Senate score a little bit. And if you take a look at the CBO analysis from your chief actuary, I think it's very revealing. This bill does not control costs. This bill does not reduce deficits. Instead, this bill adds a new health care entitlement at a time when we have no idea how to pay for the entitlements we already have. Now, let me go through why I say that. The majority leader said the bill scores as reducing the deficit $131 billion over the next 10 years. First, a little bit about CBO. I work with them every single day. Very good people, great professionals. They do their jobs well, but their job is to score what is placed in front of them. And what has been placed in front of them is a bill that is full of gimmicks and smoke and mirrors. Now, what do I mean when I say that? Well, first off, the bill has 10 years of tax increases, about $500 billion, with 10 years of Medicare cuts, about $500 billion, to pay for 6 years of spending. Now, what's the true 10-year cost of this bill? In 10 years, that's $2.3 trillion. It does a couple of other things. It takes $52 billion in higher Social Security tax revenues and counts them as offsets, but that's really reserved for Social Security. So either we're double counting them or we don't intend on paying those Social Security benefits. $72 billion in claims money from the Class Act. That's the long-term care insurance program. It takes the money from premiums that are designed for that benefit and instead counts them as offsets. The Senate Budget Committee chairman said that this is a Ponzi scheme that would make Bernie Madoff proud. Now, when you take a look at the Medicare cuts, what this bill essentially does, it treats Medicare like a piggy bank. It raised $500 billion out of Medicare, not to shore up Medicare solvency, but to spend on this new government program. Now, when you take a look at what this does is, according to the chief actuary of Medicare, he's saying as much as 20% of Medicare's providers will either go out of business or will have to stop seeing Medicare beneficiaries. Millions of seniors who have chosen Medicare Advantage will lose the coverage that they now enjoy. You can't say that you're using this money to either extend Medicare solvency and also offset the cost of this new program. That's double counting. And so when you take a look at all of this, when you strip out the double counting and what I would call these gimmicks, the full 10-year cost of this bill has a $460 billion deficit. The second 10-year cost of this bill has a $1.4 trillion deficit. And I think probably the most cynical gimmick in this bill is something that we all probably agree on. We don't think we should cut doctors 21% next year. We've stopped those cuts from occurring every year for the last 7 years. We all call this here in Washington the doc fix. Well, the doc fix, according to your numbers, cost $371 billion. It was in the first iteration of all these bills. But because it was a big price tag and it made the score look bad, made it look like a deficit, that provision was taken out, and it's been going on as standalone legislation. But ignoring these costs does not remove them from the backs of taxpayers. Hiding spending does not reduce spending.
And that is the lesson that Barack Obama just had mushed in his face like a cream pie in the Three Stooges. Representative Paul Ryan is sitting here, and you should watch the video, because when you look at Barack Obama's face, he's not happy at all, nor should he be. He's being told to his face that he's a liar and a moron, that he is bankrupting this country either through ignorance or intention. Paul Ryan is slapping him around with facts, with logic, with reason, and Barack Obama is sitting there looking like he sat down in something wet. So who do you want to vote for? Want to vote for Obama, who's counting dollars twice and plunging us into the worst debt in human history? Or someone like Paul Ryan? Now, Paul Ryan is not perfect, and Mitt Romney's not perfect. But my God, at least they're grown-ups. At least they can see reality. Wondering if Barack Obama can see reality, and if he can, if he even cares. I don't know. Item from StandWithArizona.com. He's known as America's toughest sheriff, but Joe Arpaio continues to show he deserves the moniker America's jobs sheriff, because every time Sheriff Joe conducts a raid, he frees up jobs for legal American workers. Yesterday was no exception, as Maricopa County Sheriff's deputies raided the large General Nutrition Corporation distribution warehouse in Phoenix. GNC is the dominant retailer of nutritional supplements in the U.S. with stores across the country. MCSO's Jeff Sprung says the vitamin distribution business employed as many as 21 suspects using false identifications to secure employment. 2 suspects were using Social Security numbers belonging to dead persons, Sheriff Joe Arpaio said. About 30 MCSO deputies were involved in the operation. Arpaio says 5 people were arrested. One person was hiding in a women's bathroom, while another tried to hide under some type of equipment. Stop! My friends, liberals will tell you there's nothing wrong with being an illegal alien. They come here looking for dignity, looking to support their family, looking to earn a living wage, nothing to be ashamed of, and so now you'll please explain to me why these illegal aliens, or at least alleged illegal aliens, appear to be so ashamed. Hiding in a lady's bathroom? I've done many things in my life, my friends. I've never hidden in a lady's bathroom, nor do I intend to. When do people hide? They hide when they're embarrassed and ashamed because they know they're doing something wrong. And you and I know that being an illegal anything is wrong. There is no excuse for breaking the law. Liberals will tell you, oh, come on. Well, oh, come on is not a grown-up's response. Oh, come on is not the way you run a country. Oh, come on is not the way you deal with laws that are being broken and borders that are being violated by God knows who. Oh, come on just doesn't cut it. And Sheriff Arpaio knows that, and that's why he is called America's Sheriff. God bless him. We'll be right back.
Whether you're in automotive, sporting goods, hardware, health, wellness, electrical, electronics, construction, carpet cleaning, legal, or animal care, and offer exceptional customer service and provide quality services or goods, you're honest, reliable, and professional. If you have a business, we have the customers. Let us put you in touch with our loyal, supportive, and dedicated listeners today. They're waiting to hear from you. It's inexpensive. It's effective. Call KHNC at 1-800-205-6245.
If the IRS has turned your life upside down, Ameristar Tax Centers has a free, no-obligation consultation just for you. With proven experience, our former IRS agents are licensed to contact the IRS immediately for you, stop the collection activity, and get you instant help to relieve you from this burden. We guarantee not to charge you a penny unless we can help. So call for free information now.
800-519-6297. 800-519-6297. 800-519-6297.
He was in the world, and the world was made through him, and the world did not know him. He came to his own, and his own did not receive him. But as many as received him, to them he gave the right to become children of God, to those who believe in his name, who were born not of blood, nor of the will of the flesh, nor of the will of man, but of God. The Gospel of John, chapter 1, verse 10 through 13. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America.
My friends, welcome back to Real Truth. The Democrats are so completely and totally out of touch with America that they've invited Jimmy Carter to speak at their convention. The worst president, well, until Barack Obama, the worst president in the last 100 years, and they want him to address the nation. Okay. Who else would they invite? Well, according to Dick Morris, appearing here on Fox and Friends, if they could, the Democrats would love to invite Karl Marx. Let's hear why he says that.
The president has now invited Jimmy Carter to address the DNC. Does this show that President Obama is moving to the center more, or he is way to the left?
No, the whole purpose of the convention for Obama is to animate his base. He's basically given up on the swing voters in America, and his goal is to get the left-wing base excited and thrilled as they have not been during his presidency. So his end game now is to try to give them their utopia of what a liberal left-wing presidency would be, and Jimmy Carter fits right in. If Karl Marx were available, I think he'd have a speaking role, too.
Karl Marx, my friends, is not one of the Marx brothers. Karl Marx is one of the engineers, the architects of communism. Let's jump tracks. Judge Andrew Napolitano, also on Fox News, talking about Fast and Furious, yet another dagger in the Obama administration. Let's hear what he has to say.
Joining us now is Judge Andrew Napolitano, Fox News senior judicial
Good morning, guys.
Good morning. We were talking about the complaint, the long complaint.
Right.
You studied it.
Right.
What does it say? And will they win in the end? Speculation, obviously. What's going to happen here?
I could speculate if I knew who the judge was.
Right.
But what they have asked...
Judge is a Democrat.
Oh, I didn't even know it was
okay,
assigned.
it's a Democrat.
Okay. What they have asked the court to do is to invalidate the president's invocation of executive privilege. This has happened before. This happened to President George W. Bush after us. Once that's invalidated, assuming the court does it, then they have asked the court itself to review all these images. You're talking about 75 or 80,000 pages. It's going to take the court a long time to do that.
Wow.
And decide which one stays in the Justice Department custody and which one goes to the Congress. If the judge does that, that will effectively negate Eric Holder's wishes to keep the documents to himself.
And this was done by Congress because the U.S. Attorney in Washington failed to act on the criminal contempt that Congress had passed, correct?
It's funny because the complaint is correct. The complaint indicates that the House of Representatives asked the United States Attorney for the District of Columbia, who works for Attorney General Holder, to prosecute him, and he said no. The complaint also indicates that if Governor Romney is elected president and a different U.S. attorney is in Washington, D.C., they might, and the Republicans still control the Congress, so 3 Fs, they will ask that U.S. attorney to prosecute Eric Holder, who, of course, will no longer be the Attorney General and will no longer have custody of the documents.
Well, one person who desperately wants to get to the bottom of this is Congressman Darrell Issa from California, and he was on Greta last night trying to see who lied.
They lied to Congress. They then covered it up for 10 months, and that's what they're claiming privilege. Much of what we're asking for is who lied to us, who produced the document behind the scenes, did they know or didn't they know they were providing it? That's a very simple standard.
Here's what he's saying, and I think he's got a very good point. He's saying that they offered, the Justice Department offered documents to Congress in the course of negotiation, and then suddenly the president said those very documents were subject to executive privilege. The Justice Department can't have it both ways. And they're going to ask a judge.
It was 8 months later after the documents were initially asked for, right?
Yes.
So on the last day, they said, well, no, executive privilege applies.
The other issue is this will never be resolved election
I was just going to say,
even if that judge spent 5 hours a day reviewing those documents, he wouldn't be finished by election day, and no judge is going to stop just to look at those documents.
As we go out the door, executive privilege. No state secrets involved here. That usually involves state secrets.
Correct.
Or the president being involved, and neither seems to be part of the fact.
You're exactly right. Executive privilege applies to military, diplomatic, or sensitive national security secrets that are intended to inform the president himself. Could that be why Eric Holder is so tenaciously holding on to these documents? What did the president know, and when did he know it? We won't know that until after Election Day, if ever.
And just for the...
But what we do know now is that something stinks in the Obama administration. As a matter of fact, I think just about everything stinks in the Obama administration. By the way, the most transparent administration we've had in years, right? Because we want to change, right? The Obama administration has been one of the most opaque administrations in recent memory. What they're doing, what they're saying, none of our business. None of our business. And for all of you out there who voted for Barack Obama, how does it make you feel? Item from the Economic Collapse blog. Headline, are the government and big banks quietly preparing for an imminent financial collapse? I quote, something really strange appears to be happening. All over the globe, governments and big banks are acting as if they're anticipating an imminent financial collapse. Unfortunately, we're not privy to the quiet conversations that are taking place in corporate boardrooms and in the halls of power in places like Washington, D.C. and London, so all we can do is try and make sense of all the clues that are all around us. Of course, it's completely possible to misinterpret these clues, but sticking our heads in the sand is not going to do anything either. Last week, it was revealed that the U.S. government has been secretly directing 5 of the biggest banks in America, quote, to develop plans for staving off collapse, unquote, for the last 2 years. In itself, that wouldn't be that big of a deal. But when you add that piece to the dozens of other clues of imminent financial collapse, a very troubling picture begins to emerge. Over the last 12 months, hundreds of banking executives have been resigning. Corporate insiders have been selling off enormous amounts of stock, and I've been personally told that a significant number of Wall Street bankers have been shopping for prepper properties in rural communities this summer. Meanwhile, there have been reports that the U.S. government has been stockpiling food and ammunition, and Barack Obama has been signing a whole bunch of executive orders that would potentially be implemented in the event of a major meltdown of society. So what does all this mean? It could mean something, or it could mean nothing. What we do know is that a financial collapse is coming at some point. Over the past 40 years, the total amount of debt in the United States has grown from about $2 trillion to nearly $55 trillion. That is a recipe for financial Armageddon. My friends, when we come back from this break, we're going to take a look at what financial Armageddon looks like. You're listening to Real Truth. Go nowhere.
The Lord brings the counsel of the nations to nothing. He makes the plans of the peoples of no effect. The counsel of the Lord stands forever, the plans of his heart to all generations. Blessed is the nation whose God is the Lord, the people he has chosen as his own inheritance. Psalm 33, verses 10 through 12.
We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just power from the consent of the governed. This is the America News Network.
Whether you're in automotive, sporting goods, hardware, health, wellness, electrical, electronics, construction, carpet cleaning, legal, or animal care, and offer exceptional customer service and provide quality services or goods, you're honest, reliable, and professional. If you have a business, we have the customers. Let us put you in touch with our loyal, supportive, and dedicated listeners today. They're waiting to hear from you. It's inexpensive. It's effective. Call KHNC at 1-800-205-6245.
The Beth Messiah Congregation invites you to come and experience a Messianic Roots biblically based congregational fellowship as we observe God's Shabbat in Messiah Yeshua. Praise and worship services begin at 10:30 a.m., followed by an Oneg Shabbat meal, mid-Rosh, and fellowship. Beth Messiah Congregation is located at 8333 Acoma Way in North Denver. You can find out more information by calling 1-800-205-6245. Everyone's welcome, so join us this Shabbat. And Shabbat Shalom, good Sabbath.
My friends, we're talking financial Armageddon. It's on the way. This item from the Economic Collapse blog. And by the way, a week from this Thursday, our 4th anniversary show, I will have the author of the Economic Collapse blog and the End of the American Dream blog will be right here for a full hour. Your calls will be invited, as always, and he'll be talking about the encroaching darkness as we head further into this new millennium. Let's continue from the Economic Collapse blog. In normal times, the U.S. government does not tell major banks to develop plans for staving off collapse. But according to a recent Reuters article, that's apparently exactly what's been happening. U.S. regulators directed 5 of the country's biggest banks, including Bank of America Corp. And Goldman Sachs Group, Inc., to develop plans for staving off collapse if they faced serious problems, emphasizing that the banks could not count on government help. The 2-year-old program, which has been largely secret until now, is in addition to the living wills the banks crafted to help the regulators dismantle them if they actually do fail. It shows how hard regulators are working to ensure that banks have plans for worst-case scenarios and can act rationally in times of distress. Does it seem odd to anyone else that only 5 really big banks got such a warning? And why keep it secret from the American public? Does the federal government actually expect such a collapse to happen? If federal officials do expect a financial collapse to occur, they would not be the only ones. An increasing number of very respected economists are speaking about the coming financial collapse as if there's a certain inevitability about it. For example, check out the following quote from a recent Monday Morning article. Quote, Richard Duncan, formerly of the World Bank and chief economist at Black Horse Asset Management, says America's $16 trillion in federal debt has escalated into a, quote, death spiral, as he told CNBC. And it could result in a depression so severe that he doesn't, quote, think our civilization could survive it, unquote. The bank executive is warning that our civilization might not survive what's coming? That's pretty chilling. Economist Riell says he believes that the coming crisis will be even worse than 2008. Quote, worse because like 2008, you'll have an economic and financial crisis, but unlike 2008, you're running out of policy bullets. In 2008, you could cut rates, do QE1, QE2, you could do fiscal stimulus, you could backstop, ring-fence, guarantee banks and everybody else. Today, more QEs are becoming less and less effective because the problems of solvency, not liquidity. Fiscal deficits are already so large that you cannot bail out the banks because, 1, there's political opposition to it, and 2, governments are near insolvent. They cannot bail themselves out, let alone their banks. The problem is that we're running out of policy rabbits to pull out of the hat, unquote. Across the pond, many European officials are echoing similar sentiments. What Nigel Farage told King News the other day is very ominous. Quote, today, member European Parliament Nigel Farage spoke with King World News about what he described as the possibility of a, quote, really dramatic banking collapse, unquote. Farage also warned that central planners want to enslave and imprison people inside of a new order, and he described the situation as, quote, horrifying. The situation in Europe continues to get worse and worse. The authorities in Europe have come out with solution after solution, and yet unemployment continues to skyrocket. Economic conditions in the EU have deteriorated very steadily over the past 12 months. If all that was not bad enough, there's an increasing number of indications that Germany is actually considering leaving the euro. My friends, read the rest of this piece on my Facebook page. Read it and weep. And when you're done weeping, get angry, because nothing else is going to pull us out of this morass. I'll see you tomorrow with more Real Truth. Hasta luego.